when Brits wrote letters instead of texts. There was a time, not too long ago, when messages didn't ping instantly into pockets, but arrived folded neatly inside envelopes, sealed with care, and delivered by the familiar knock of the postman. When Brits wrote letters instead of texts, communication was slower but deeper, carrying with it the weight of thought, effort, and anticipation. From love letters tucked away in drawers to postcards from holiday towns, the written word captured emotions in ways that instant messaging never could. This was nostalgic Britain, a slower and more thoughtful era. The ritual of letter writing. In nostalgic Britain, writing a letter was more than just communication. It was a ritual rooted in patience and intention. Families often kept a small writing desk stocked with envelopes, stamps, and carefully chosen paper. The act of sitting down to write was deliberate. You thought about what you wanted to say, you weighed your words, and once ink touched paper, there was no easy delete button. Children learned proper letter writing in school. They were taught to begin with "Dear Sir" or "Dear Auntie" and end with "Yours faithfully" or "Yours sincerely." These customs reflected old British traditions that carried on for centuries. Handwriting was personal. Loopy cursive revealed one's creativity, while neat block letters showed precision. Each style carried clues about the writer. Some writers decorated margins with doodles, underlined important words, or even tucked small keepsakes into their envelopes. Letters were slow to write, but that slowness was part of their charm. In an age before technology, letters captured attention in a way no text message ever could. Post offices and the red letter box. Post offices were lifelines of British history, the nerve centers of communication. Whether in a bustling city or a sleepy village, the local post office was as essential as the church or the pub. Here, stamps were purchased, letters weighed, and parcels carefully wrapped. But they were more than places of business. They were gathering points, where neighbors caught up on news while waiting to post their letters. Standing outside was the red letter box, an enduring symbol of Britain itself. Slipping a folded envelope into that metal slot felt satisfying, almost ceremonial. The Royal Mail became a trusted guardian of messages, delivering thoughts across counties and even continents. Children were often sent to pop a letter in the post, and that small responsibility gave them a sense of importance. The postman, with his bicycle or satchel, was part of the community fabric. In nostalgic Britain, people knew their postie by name. His daily arrival was anticipated, sometimes even watched for at the window. A letter falling through the letterbox was never ignored. It was opened with excitement, curiosity, or even nerves. And until as late as 2004, Britain enjoyed 2 postal deliveries a day, a morning round and an afternoon round, doubling the anticipation and the thrill. Love letters and romance on paper. When Brits wrote letters instead of texts, romance took on an entirely different flavor. A love letter wasn't simply about information, it was a piece of art, a declaration of feeling poured out on paper. Soldiers stationed abroad in wartime wrote long, yearning letters to sweethearts back home. Couples separated by university or work clung to the comfort of written affection. These weren't quick emojis or abbreviations. They were pages of carefully chosen words. People confessed love, described their days, or dreamed of futures together. Some letters carried a faint scent of perfume. Others had lipstick kisses pressed onto the paper. Love letters were treasured. They were tied with ribbon, stored in boxes, and reread countless times. Unlike today's fleeting digital messages, they felt permanent. Many couples saved them their entire lives, passing them down as family heirlooms. They were tangible reminders that love once traveled slowly, through the hands of postmen, across miles of countryside, in envelopes sealed with hope. Family letters and everyday news. Letters weren't only about romance, they were the glue that kept families connected in an age before cheap phone calls. Parents in Yorkshire wrote to children who had moved to London for work. Grandparents sent birthday cards with crisp banknotes tucked inside. Brothers and sisters exchanged small updates: the garden's first bloom, the neighbor's mischief, the latest football score. The beauty of family letters was their simplicity. They didn't need to be profound to matter. A few lines about the weather or a new recipe could carry warmth across miles. For many households, hearing the letterbox rattle was the highlight of the day. Even sad news was softened by letters. The careful choice of words, the thought given to tone, all made difficult messages easier to bear. In nostalgic Britain, a family letter was more than just ink and paper. It was reassurance that bonds remained strong despite distance. Pen pals and friendships across borders. Another charming tradition of British history was the pen pal. Schools encouraged children to connect with others abroad, often in France, Germany, or further afield. Exchanging letters introduced young people to different languages and cultures. A foreign stamp arriving on the doormat was a miniature adventure, proof that the world was wider than one's hometown. For many children, pen pal friendships lasted years. Letters described everyday life, school routines, favorite foods, or local traditions. The excitement of receiving an envelope with unfamiliar handwriting was unmatched. These friendships sometimes blossomed into lifelong bonds, and in rare cases, led to visits across borders. Closer to home, pen pals could also be cousins in different towns or friends met on holiday. The effort of maintaining a letter-based friendship showed dedication, patience, and curiosity. In the days before the internet, this was how the young explored the world. The beauty of handwriting and stationery. Handwriting itself was a language. The curl of an S, the tilt of a T, the smudge of ink at the corner of a page, all revealed personality. In nostalgic Britain, people prided themselves on good penmanship. Schools held competitions for the neatest script, and many spent hours perfecting their cursive. Stationery was equally important. Shops sold embossed writing paper, scented envelopes, and elegant pens. Choosing the right stationery became part of the ritual. Pale blue paper for casual notes, cream for formal letters, or floral designs for friendly exchanges. Some sealed letters with wax, adding flair that turned correspondence into an art. Letters were tactile. They weren't just read, they were felt, smelled, and sometimes even decorated. They lingered on mantels or in drawers long after they were delivered. Unlike emails or texts, which vanish into digital space, handwritten letters had a physical presence that made them unforgettable. Letters in times of distance and separation. The most poignant letters came during times of distance. In World War II, soldiers' letters home became lifelines of hope. Families clung to every word, rereading them until the paper grew soft. Even decades later, many families still keep these wartime letters as treasured heirlooms. Later, in the era of compulsory national service, 1949 to 1960, young men also wrote faithfully to parents and girlfriends. These letters reassured loved ones of their safety and provided glimpses into military life. For that generation, the letter was the thread that tied them to home. Even in the 1970s and 1980s, letters still bridged distance for immigrants or students. Cheap international calls were rare, so the post remained the only reliable connection. Waiting for a letter was often a blend of excitement and anxiety, never knowing what news the envelope might hold. This patience, this waiting, defined life in Britain before technology. Letters taught endurance, hope, and gratitude, lessons that instant communication rarely delivers. the anticipation of waiting. The slow magic of letters was inseparable from waiting. You could send a note today and not hear back for a week or a month, depending on distance. That delay created suspense. People checked the letterbox with anticipation, listened for the postman's knock, and savored the moment of tearing open an envelope. Children especially felt the thrill. They rushed to the door at the sound of post, hoping for birthday cards or letters from cousins. Adults, too, timed their days around the postman's visit. And while one delivery was special enough for most of Britain's history, the two-a-day postal service heightened the excitement. A morning post might bring one surprise, only for an afternoon delivery to bring another, a practice that lasted until 2004. Texts today may be faster, but they lack that drama. A letter arriving in nostalgic Britain wasn't just communication, it was an event, a pause in the day that brought surprise, comfort, or delight. When Brits wrote letters instead of texts, every word mattered, every envelope carried meaning, and every reply was treasured. These handwritten notes, filled with love, news, and personality, connected families, friends, and lovers across distances. Though technology has changed communication forever, the memory of handwritten letters remains a timeless part of British history. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.